Morning world, it's Sunday morning, the 3rd of June 2018. It's about 8:30 in the morning UK time. This is the first of three videos I'm doing today. A few days ago I did a reading for an existing client who's having a particularly difficult time. And one of the things about this client is that they were born at the time when the sun in the sky was exactly opposite Chiron. So they carry this in their horoscope. And having had a chance to reflect on the chart, it's got me thinking about the nature of Chiron once again. So I'm going to do 2 or 3 videos now on Chiron from a more 2018 perspective, bearing in mind that Chiron was only really discovered some 40 years ago. So its astrological themes are still being developed. And I know I've done videos on this before, but this is an update. So first of all, I want to look at Chiron I'm not going to mention individual houses, but I'm going to talk about different themes, both in terms of positive and challenging, according to Chiron's house placement. Chiron can be very self-sacrificing. It can let oneself be used as a springboard for other people's success. And they don't even say thanks, let alone take you with them. And you end up feeling used and abused and undervalued. You feel as if you're not worthy, that you don't deserve to exist. Whereas at the same time, Chiron can be the absolute healer, unconditional love, and with a genuine desire to help the world and to help people less fortunate than itself. Chiron can also be the person who just feels that they don't deserve to have community, that they're not good enough, that they don't belong in community, that they're alone, that they lack friends. And yet, at the same time, this position can also bring people into their lives who are different than norm, and that normal friends don't apply, but all of their community will be someone who's different, who's engaged in a more interactive, holistic practice where the words like assimilation and integration and holism are much more the norm. Chiron in the 10th can be where you're just scared to go out into the world, where you feel as if you don't want to be in the outside world because you're ugly, or because you're useless, or because the outside world's going to have a go at you and you just feel completely undervalued by the outside world, so you're never going to go and get a good job. Alternatively, Chiron in the 10th house can be about people who go out there and work in a way which benefits other people less fortunate than themselves. 9th house Chiron people often lack belief. What do I believe in? What is true for me? I don't have any philosophies that are solid, that are real. Whereas at the same time, once they get over this and realise that their own philosophies are not what other people tell them is truth, but what's true for them, then they make their own truths and they live life according to their own beliefs and philosophies, regardless of other people's opinions, and that works for them. Chiron in the 8th, well, the negative side of this is that they can feel of themselves as inadequate, whether it's in terms of finances or sexuality, or they can just feel constantly disempowered. Whereas the positive side of this is people, Chiron in the 8th, is people who find out about the depth, the psychological depth, the intensity of life. They go into the dark shadows and they come out with new power, with a strength of being power-filled, not powerful. And as a result, they can really empower other people using their own psychological talents. Chiron in the 7th house often feel as if they're lousy at relationships and they're not good relationship material, no matter how good other people say they are. Whilst on the positive side, this is a position where all of their relationships will act as a kind of cathartic form, a cathartic process of transformation for themselves and for their partners, where they slowly grow to understand the true meaning of love and how good relationships only come when you're in a good relationship with yourself first of all. People with Chiron in the 7th house often can end up as carers, counsellors, or other forms of protectionism towards their partner. Chiron in the 6th house can be the genuine wounded one, the one who will suffer digestive disorders, physical injuries, strange illnesses, and just not have a good self-respect for oneself. Whereas on the positive side, it brings a sense of unity, a sense of integration and assimilation and holism, and the knowledge that, you can't help anyone else unless you're first of all in good working order yourself. Chiron in the 5th house is common in the charts of people who don't have children or who don't grow up with their children. On the negative side, but on the positive side, it makes the greatest teachers, but not teachers in an academic way, teachers in a way that prepare people for life. Chiron in the 4th house can be very much the child who was abandoned by the parents, neglected, didn't have a stable home, yet at the same time, Chiron in the 4th house can be people who really help other people find their sense of home inside. You can't find a home in the outside world till you first know where your heart is. Home is where the heart is an old aphorism. But with Chiron in the 4th house, these people, they need to find home inside themselves before they can find home in the outside world. Chiron in the 3rd house people either have major problems with their siblings, common, or they stutter, there's communication problems. On the positive side, these are the people who, the more they orientate their communication about holism and seeing everything as being interconnected, the more they get the big picture and the more enriched they become in their communication. Chiron in the 2nd house people genuinely don't have a sense of value or worth when young. They just don't think they're worth it or good enough. They don't really get a lot of money because they just don't put their prices accordingly, you know. But on the positive side, as they get older, they realise that it's not all about money, it's about dignity, integrity, and authenticity, and that it's hard, and you can't be the best in the outside world until you recognise that you're doing your best inside yourself. And Chiron in the 1st house people genuinely at times have a real dislike of their physical appearance, their face, their body shape, and yet at the same time, these are the people who can genuinely go into other people's lives and reassure them of their value and worth. Now, there's a lot of different themes here, but it's all of, as you can see, the one theme that goes through all of these different positions is that of self-acceptance and the knowledge that no matter what you do, you're never going to be good enough, but you're always getting better. As I say to a lot of my friends with Chiron positions, 98% is good enough. If you had 100%, you'd have wings on your back. I'm going to do another video now looking at the planetary positions with Chiron, not so much the individual aspects as more the planetary patterns.